All right, so climate change, it feels like it's everywhere. But honestly, when was the last time you actually sat down and thought, what does this all really mean?
It's true. We hear these big phrases all the time, but sometimes you don't stop and really think about them.
Yeah, exactly. So this BBC episode I was watching, The Climate Question,
Yeah.
it got me thinking.
Oh, yeah. What was it about?
Well, there was this part where, like, the film crew almost got taken out by some sea creature, all because the oceans are getting warmer. Kind of funny, in a way.
Huh.
But also, it's a sign of how much things are changing. So for this deep dive, we're going beyond just the headlines. We're going to really unpack what climate change actually is. You with me?
Absolutely. Let's break it down.
Perfect. So maybe we should start with, like, the most basic question. What is climate change?
Okay, well, at its simplest, climate change is all about extra heat getting trapped in the Earth's system. It's like we've turned the planet's thermostat up way too high.
Earth's got a thermostat.
Well, not literally, but there's this natural balance that keeps the temperature just right for life.
Okay, I get it. So what's messing with this balance?
Greenhouse gases. They're actually a good thing in the right amounts.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they act like a blanket around Earth, keeping the heat in. Without them, the planet would be freezing.
So it's like a cozy blanket.
Exactly. But here's the catch. We're producing way too many greenhouse gases, mostly because we're burning so much fossil fuel.
So it's like piling on tons of blankets until you get way too hot.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, that makes sense. But then why haven't we just switched blankets, so to speak?
Well, it's not that simple. We're incredibly reliant on fossil fuels. Our whole way of life depends on them.
I guess I never really thought about how ingrained they are.
Yeah, everything from powering our homes to transporting goods, it all comes back to fossil fuels.
Hey, what are fossil fuels? Like, in simple terms.
Basically, they're ancient plant and animal remains compressed over millions of years. They're super efficient for energy, but when we burn them, all that stored carbon gets released back into the atmosphere as CO2, and that's what thickens that heat-trapping blanket.
Right. Okay, now it's all coming together. But I bet there are people out there thinking, so what if it gets a little warmer? I like hot weather.
I hear you. But it's not just about things getting a bit toastier. It's about disrupting the whole Earth system in ways we're only just beginning to understand.
So it's a bigger deal than just, like, summer getting a bit longer.
Way bigger. And it's not some future problem either. It's happening now.
Yeah, that's what really struck me in that BBC report. They were showing these floods in Pakistan. Just devastating.
That's a prime example of how climate change is already impacting people's lives.
And people were saying it was hotter there than in parts of Africa. It's crazy.
It's intense, and those floods weren't just some random weather event. Climate change is making them worse.
Really? How so?
Warmer air holds more moisture, so when it rains, it really pours.
Oh, wow. So the atmosphere is like a giant sponge that's getting squeezed. Okay, so warmer Earth equals more downpours and flooding. That's like the opposite of what I would have thought.
Yeah.
What else are we seeing because of climate change? Besides, crazy weather like that.
Well, rising sea levels are a huge concern. As the planet heats up, the oceans expand. And then glaciers and ice sheets are melting faster too.
So all that extra water has to go somewhere.
Right. And it's already causing coastal erosion and more frequent flooding if we don't get emissions under control.
What? What happens then?
Entire island nations could literally vanish underwater.
That's a lot to take in.
It is. And we can't forget about wildfires.
Oh, right. Those are getting worse too, aren't they?
Absolutely. As temperatures rise, vegetation dries out and becomes more flammable.
Making it easier for fires to start and spread.
Exactly. And we're seeing those fires become larger and more intense. It's a scary trend.
It is. I mean, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all this. Like, okay, this is all terrible, but what can I actually do about it?
Yeah, I get that. It can feel pretty daunting. But, we don't have to go live in caves to fix this.
So ditching my car for a horse and buggy isn't the answer.
Probably not. It's more about changing how we power our lives, not going totally back in time.
Okay, so how we do things, not just what we do. But is that even possible at this point? Like, can we really shift away from all that?
It's already happening. Look at renewable energy, solar, wind power, all that.
Yeah, I'm seeing more of that stuff around, for sure.
It's getting more efficient and cheaper all the time. That makes it a real alternative to fossil fuels.
So it's not just like a hippie dream anymore. It's actually practical.
Exactly. And don't forget about electric cars. Those are getting pretty mainstream these days.
Yeah, true. I've been seeing a lot more of those around lately.
The technology's getting better fast, too. So all this shows we can innovate, we can change things, but there's still that nagging feeling of, is it too late?
Oh, totally. Like, even with all this cool new stuff, is it enough?
Here's how I think about it. Climate change, it's like getting punched over and over. Every punch hurts, right? And you want to make it stop ASAP.
Yeah, I definitely want to stop those punches.
But even if you've been hit a bunch already, you wouldn't just lie down and give up, would you?
No way. I'd fight back, try to block as many as I could.
Right. So, same with climate change. Every bit of progress we make matters. Every little bit of warming we prevent helps.
So even if we miss some of those big climate goals, we shouldn't lose hope.
Exactly. Don't give up. And this leads to a big question, actually. What can you personally do to be part of the solution?
Okay, lay it on me. What can I do? I'm just one person.
Well, vote.
Vote. Seriously. How does that help with climate change?
It's more important than you might think. Politicians have a huge say in this. They make the policies, they decide where the money goes.
So if we want action on climate change,
We need to elect leaders who take it seriously, leaders who are ready to make big changes.
so voting is like our superpower in this fight.
It's one of them, for sure. But I know it's easy to get discouraged, right? Feel like your one vote doesn't matter much.
Oh yeah, I've definitely felt that way before. Like, what difference does it really make?
I understand. But honestly, having worked on this for so long, there's a real reason to be hopeful. We're seeing positive shifts happening right now.
Oh, tell me more about that. I need some good news.
Well, first off, remember how we talked about renewables getting cheaper?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
It's a game changer. It means switching to clean energy isn't just good for the planet anymore.
It's actually good for your wallet, too.
Exactly. It makes economic sense. And that's huge.
So it's not this battle of, like, environment versus the economy anymore.
Right. It's becoming more and more clear that they can go hand in hand.
That's so encouraging. What's the other positive shift you mentioned?
Public awareness. People are talking about climate change more than ever. They're demanding action from their leaders.
Yeah, it feels like it's not just a fringe issue anymore. Like, everyone's talking about it.
And that's leading to real action. More investment in clean energy, stricter environmental laws. It's happening.
Wow, that is good news. Though I got to be honest, I'm still, like, cautiously optimistic. It's hard not to be a little freaked out by all this, too.
I hear you. It's a lot to process. But it's about acknowledging the challenge while also recognizing the progress we're making. It's a race, for sure, but we're not standing still.
I like that. Forward momentum. That's what we need. Okay, but that BBC episode, they talked about some pretty scary stuff, too. Like, entire islands disappearing because of rising sea levels.
It's serious stuff, no doubt. It shows just how urgent this issue is. We're not just talking about possible impacts way off in the future.
It's affecting people right now.
Yeah. People's lives, their homes, their livelihoods are already being threatened by climate change, and it's only going to get worse if we don't act.
And it's not just those island nations, right? Like, coastal communities all over are at risk.
You got it. This is a global problem. Millions of people could be displaced. We could see massive damage to infrastructure. It's a big deal.
So we have to act now, basically. No more delaying. But how? Like, what can we do? The BBC episode mentioned some cool new technologies.
Yeah, there's a ton of exciting stuff happening on that front. It's one of the things that makes me hopeful.
Okay, give me some examples. What kind of tech are we talking about?
Well, one really promising area is carbon capture and storage.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. It's like sucking the CO2 right out of the air.
Exactly, like a giant air purifier for the planet.
That sounds pretty sci-fi, honestly.
It's still in development, but it has huge potential. It's not just about reducing new emissions anymore.
It's about cleaning up the mess we've already made.
You got it. And there's so much more happening. People are working on biofuels from algae, sustainable building materials, even making farming more climate friendly.
So it's not just doom and gloom. This whole crisis is actually pushing us to be more innovative.
It is. It's forcing us to get creative, to think outside the box. And that's a good thing in a way.
Yeah, it's like we have to rise to the challenge. No more excuses.
Exactly. And that's why I believe we can overcome this. We have the brains, the resources, and the will to make a difference.
I love that. It's like the future is still being written, and we have a say in how it turns out.
That's the spirit. But let's be real. It won't be easy. It'll take a lot of hard work, a lot of cooperation.
No quick fixes, huh?
Nope. This is a long game, but the stakes are high, so we got to do everything we can.
Okay, so we've talked about the big picture stuff, but what about me personally? what can I do to feel like I'm part of the solution?
It's all about individual action, too. Even small changes add up.
Give me some ideas, like what kind of things can people do in their daily lives?
Well, think about how you use energy. Can you cut back on electricity at home? Switch to more energy-efficient appliances?
Makes sense, like turn off the lights when you leave a room, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And think about transportation. Can you bike or walk more instead of driving? Take public transit?
Yeah, maybe carpool with a friend or coworker sometimes.
Those are great options. And when you buy things, try to choose products that are made sustainably. Look for eco-friendly labels. Support businesses that are making an effort.
So being a conscious consumer, basically.
Right. Your choices matter. They send a message to companies about what kind of products people want.
So it's like voting with your wallet.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of talking about these issues. Have conversations with your friends and family. Spread awareness.
Get people thinking about it, even if they don't agree with me.
You got it. The more we talk about climate change, the more it becomes a priority, the more likely we are to see real action.
So it's about creating a culture where sustainability is the norm, not the exception.
I love that. That's the ultimate goal.
Okay, I'm feeling a bit more empowered now.
Yeah.
Less helpless. Like, I actually have a role to play in this.
You absolutely do. We all do.
It's a team effort.
It is. We're all in this together. And speaking of teamwork, the BBC episode also highlighted how important collaboration is.
Yeah, like working together to find solutions.
Exactly. We need governments, businesses, scientists, and everyday people all working together.
No one group can solve this on their own.
Nope. It's going to take all of us. And one of the coolest things happening right now is how this whole challenge is actually fostering collaboration.
Really? How so?
Well, we're seeing more and more partnerships forming between countries, between industries, between researchers and communities.
So people are putting aside their differences and working together for a common goal.
That's right. It's inspiring to see, and it's crucial for finding solutions that work for everyone.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the problem, the potential solutions, and the role we all play in this. But, like, if you had to boil it all down, what's the most important thing for people to understand about climate change?
This might sound cheesy, but it's about hope.
Hope. But things are looking pretty dire, right?
Yeah, there are some scary possibilities out there. But we can't let fear paralyze us. We have to believe that we can make a difference.
So hope isn't about ignoring the problem. It's about believing we can overcome it.
Exactly. Hope is what fuels action. It's what drives innovation. It's what brings people together. Without hope, we're lost.
I like that. Hope as a motivator, a driving force.
That's what it is. So, yeah, the situation is serious. But we can't give up. We have to stay hopeful.
And keep fighting. Keep pushing for change.
You got it. Every step we take, every action we take brings us closer to a better future.
It's like we're on a journey, and we don't know exactly where it's going to end, but we got to keep moving forward.
That's a great way to put it. It's a journey, and it's up to us to make it a positive one.
And to our listeners out there, remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're all in this together.
That's right. And together, we can create a future where humanity and nature thrive.
That's a powerful message. So before we wrap up this deep dive, one last question for our listeners. Think about everything we've discussed today. All the challenges, the solutions, the reasons for hope. And ask yourself this: what one small change can you make in your life to be part of the solution? It can be anything, big or small. Maybe you start recycling more. Maybe you walk to work once a week. Maybe you talk to your friends and family about climate change. Whatever it is, make that commitment, because every action counts. Every step we take brings us closer to a better future. So what will your contribution be? It's true, it's not just about surviving, it's about making things better. Which I guess brings us back to that big question we started with. What is climate change really? Like, after all this, how would you sum it up?
Well, we've gone from the nitty-gritty science to how it affects people, economies, everything. But honestly, climate change boils down to choices.
Choices, huh?
Yeah. Choices we've made, choices we're making right now. Choices that'll shape what happens next. It's about our relationship with energy, how much we consume, our responsibility to the planet and to people who come after us.
And the wild part is, the story's still being written. Kind of scary, but also exciting, maybe.
It is both. The ending isn't set. It depends on what we do, collectively and as individuals. So, as we wrap up here, what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with? That thought that sticks in their head?
Ooh, good question. The big takeaway.
This. We have the power to change how this story unfolds. It won't be easy. It'll take guts, commitment, working together. but it is possible.
That's a message of hope, and I think we all need to hear that right now. It's not about giving up. It's realizing we have agency, our actions matter, and we can build a better future.
Exactly. We're not just watching this happen. We're the ones shaping it, and we can write a new chapter. One of hope, resilience, transformation.
I'm so ready to be part of that. And to everyone listening, I'll leave you with this. Given all we've talked about, what's one small change you could make in your own life to be part of the solution? What will your contribution be to the story of climate change? Because the power to change, it's in your hands.